So the Buddha said there are two kinds of assemblies, monastic communities. There are the divided assembly and the harmonious assembly. What is the divided assembly? Here, the assembly in which the monastics take to arguing and quarreling and falling into disputes, stabbing each other with piercing words. This is called the divided assembly. What is the harmonious assembly? Here, the assembly in which the monastics dwell in concord, harmoniously, without disputes, blending like milk and water, viewing each other with eyes of affection, is called the harmonious assembly. Just from that description, you think, well, you choose. Which one? Which one would we like to live in? So we've been talking, I have been talking over the last few times of giving these talks about the 6 harmonies, which the Buddha gave as a way of developing this harmonious assembly. So we've talked about the first 2, the physical, to be harmonious physically. We talked about being harmonious verbally. Today we're going to talk about how to be harmonious mentally, and the remaining ones are to be harmonious in the precepts that we share, or that we keep, to be harmonious in the views that we hold, and to be harmonious in how we share the requisites that we receive. So this mental harmony is kind of interesting. You know, I did some research to Venerable Children's talks on it, and I've thought about the physical one you can kind of get, and the verbal one for sure. It's, you know, easy to see. But what exactly is mental harmony? It's not like we are one mind, you know. So I found some material in going kind of deeper into the research. In the Chinese tradition, of course, where their monastic communities thrive, they use these quite readily. And one translation from the Chinese is that this harmony in views is tolerance. I'm sorry, harmony mentally. Harmony mentally is tolerance, an attitude of acceptance and goodwill towards others. So it's having a loving mind towards one another. Now, Venerable Children talks about it in 2 ways. She said, first of all, we think everyone has to think exactly like we do in order to be harmonious. And that's a mistake. It's not possible that people think exactly like we do. But where the practice of harmony comes in is that we accept that everybody thinks differently, and then we have this tolerance and openness to one another's views or to one another's opinions. And it comes, this is from another teacher, but it comes from having the idea that we are open to hearing and exchanging our views rather than having to see them as a conflict. But that grows out of the second point of what this harmony in mental harmony is about, is that it's appreciating and supporting each other. And how does that look? I want to say I found a very beautiful little video that was an interview with Master Sheng Yen, who was the founder of the Dharma Drum Mountain, which was one of the largest temples and Dharma networks out of Taiwan. He died about 5 or 6 years ago. He has many videos. He was a world-renowned Dharma master. And he has thousands of views of his videos. But his views on the his video on the 6 harmonies has 68 views. But I really recommend that people go see it. It's a very beautiful little condensation of these views. But he says, and I'm going to quote him very deliberately, he says harmony in the mind is about our heart, which of course we know in the language is mind-heart, same word in most of the languages where Buddhism has been practiced for eons. The principle of joyful spiritual harmony that is in our hearts mean we get along amiably and harmoniously. How is that? It's because from the bottom of our hearts we are filled with joy. What does that mean? That means we practice to keep a happy mind, which I believe was Lama Yeshe's advice directly as a quote that came down to us through our teacher, Venerable Tupten Children, but we keep a happy mind. And Master Sheng Yen says all we see and hear initiates a reaction, right? The reaction that we can cultivate is from the bottom of our heart to have a reaction of joy. And if we have that, then everything, of course, around us maintains a harmonious and joyful mind. It seems so simple. Ha ha, ha ha, ha ha. Right? I'm also reminded of when we were visiting with the Thich Nhat Hanh community a few years ago when the monastic gathering was there at their monastery in California. One of the things we learned is that a monastic who grows up in their community is eligible to become a teacher when they can keep their own mind happy and can help keep others' minds happy too. That's the criteria. So this thing about harmony mentally really is our responsibility to keep our mind in a joyful state, to keep our mind in a happy state. Some lists in the Chinese tradition don't even list this as mental harmony. They call it Dharma bliss. And then you really don't know what that is. But, it's this. It's simply called Dharma bliss. So when Venerable Chödrön was giving a talk to the nuns at Tosam Ling a few years ago, she was saying, okay, here's an example. Like for monastics, in lay life there are definitely parallels. But for monastics, we sit in ordination order. And she told a little story about you could look down the line that way, or let's start that way. They're all ordained longer than I am. You can look down all these people who are senior to me and think, well, that one has that fault. She didn't do that job very well. That one always does that and that and that and that and that. And then you look to the right to the ones who are junior to you, and now you're a little superior. Oh yeah, and that one does da-da-da-da-da. And she never does da-da-da-da-da-da. And our whole mind is about picking faults with the people around us, which makes us miserable. I think we think it's going to make us feel better about ourselves. But it doesn't have that effect. It has the effect of keeping our mind really quite unhappy. So she was talking about starting to cultivate in her own practice the mind that can look down and go, well, she has that good quality, and that nun has that good quality, and this one was really superb at this thing that she did, and this one contributes in this way, and this one contributes in that way. So practicing to see the good qualities of others, and then rejoicing in those good qualities. And we have talked again and again and again, and this is so hard for us to do, about how effective rejoicing is in our practice and what it does for our mind. And it's true to rejoice in our own virtue, to rejoice in other people's virtues, to rejoice in our own merit, other people's merit, to rejoice in other people's opportunities. And when we have this harmony of mind, then we can kind of get that, indeed, somebody has an opportunity that I didn't get. They're contributing to the whole. That opportunity brings something back to the group as a whole. So in Master Sheng Yen's video, it was actually I don't know if it was staged or not, but it was like a Chinese reporter has him sitting in a chair on a TV set, and it's like, how do we apply these in the workplace? And he said, these days, everybody lives in a community. Whether it's your workplace, whether it's your family, whether it's the volunteer organization that you're involved with, as well as a monastic community, so everybody's in a community. And so working with these harmonies and working with these antidotes benefits all of society. So for sure for us, this thing about cultivating only a happy mind, it's also one of the 7-point thought transformation. Always have only a happy mind or a joyful mind, depending on the translation. Yeah, so we get the teachings coming and going and practicing it, but it's only to our benefit. It's really only to our benefit. Oh, I bet I didn't bring this. No, I didn't. But he says later on, Master Sheng Yen says later on, when he's talking about shared resources, he says indeed that when we are looking out for others and cultivating this kind of happy mind, it only benefits us. That when we're putting others above or others' interests or others' concerns before our own, we definitely have this sense of happiness. And so within this mental harmony, this thing about really practicing to celebrate and see each other's good qualities is a huge contributor to harmony in whatever community it is that we live in. I asked Venerable Tarpa to give me the text of the BBC, of the quote that she gave her Bodhisattva Breakfast Corner talk on yesterday, because I thought it followed so closely. Desmond Tutu said, "We get the most upset with those we love the most because they are close to us and we know they are aware of our weaknesses. If only we could learn to live with our inadequacies, our frailties, our vulnerabilities, we would not need to try so hard to push away those who really know us. We can love others with their failures when we stop despising ourselves because of our failures." This is the opposite of that mental harmony, which is kind of our habitual way of being. Oh, people will see how vulnerable I am. People will see I'm not very good at this. People will judge me. People don't really care about me anyway. Da-da-da-da-da-da. And we put up our little barriers and our boundaries. But I think if we're practicing this activity of mental harmony, where we're rejoicing in everyone's good qualities, we have to be looking at our own too. And we are more accepting of our frailties and also aware that of our interdependence, so that I don't have to be good at everything. There are other people here who are good at some things, way better than me. And if I can relax and let that go, then I can give my contribution joyfully, everybody else can give their contribution joyfully, and we can live together in harmony, as the Buddha said. Where is that quote? With eyes of love. Blending like milk and water, viewing each other with eyes of affection, as a harmonious assembly. So may we practice.